Hey everybody, it's Brian again, and welcome to the full button tutorial of the 2023 Toyota Highlander LE. This is the gas model. It's a simple car, but it comes with a lot of new stuff stock compared to what the Highlander used to at the base level. But check out the review video for that. If you're new to my reviews, I typically like to start from left to right. Then I do buttons down by the shifter, closing up with the screen. But with that said, let's begin. Starting on the door, like most new Toyotas with the TNGA frames, you have auto down, one touch, throw up, one touch. So it's auto in both directions with micro adjusts on the window switches. And moving in front of those, we have the two little buttons here for the door locks. You don't have to look down at these because if you feel these two little dots, that's how you know which button is going to lock the vehicle. And next to those, we have the window lock here to prevent other passengers from opening the windows. Say you have little kids that like to play window games. And in front of that on the door, we have the mirror adjustment for the side mirrors. So it's in the neutral position now, which means if I push it at all, it's not going to adjust. But by clicking it over to the L, I can adjust the left mirror. Or to the R, I can adjust the right mirror and then back to neutral. The driver's seat has a forward and backward electronic assist with raising and lowering, and you can even twist it a little bit to really customize your feel. And then right next to that is the recliner, but it does lack the lumbar support that the XLE and Up have. Down below on the driver's floor mat, they do lock into the floor in two different places. Simply by twisting this a quarter turn, you can unlock the mat to vacuum the floor, but you always want to make sure you twist and turn and check that it's locked back in place. Down below in the dashboard, we have a lever here to pop the hood, and next to that, a push button for opening up your lock and gas door. Above those two, there's a little lever here that I can pull for a little mini glove box where I can put some knickknacks that I want easy access to. Then above that in the dash, we have three buttons. I have one for the power hatchback. I have to push and hold for about a second. Then I can stop it short and then push and hold real quick to close. I can also do that from the key fob or the actual hatchback itself. This button here turns off the feature where the engine turns off when you come to a stop, so for those like me that are not a fan of that feature, you can kill it. The catch is you have to push this every time you start the car. And then this is just the activation for the automatic high beams, which will turn on when the lights are in the auto position. Above this area on the dashboard, we have a couple more buttons. On the left here, we have the odometer and trip setting, which will show on the bottom right of the MID screen by the speedometer, which is soon to come. You push and hold to clear your trips. You have two trips, A and B, and then have the brightness adjuster for the speedometer up and down. There's a lever that you can pull down like so, and the steering wheel will telescope and raise and lower. Once you find the perfect spot, all you have to do is lock it right back in place. On the left steering wheel stalk, we have a couple different lighting positions here. We have DRL off, which means there will be no lights on the vehicle. Automatic, which will then activate your automatic high beams. You can bypass by pushing forward, of course. This will give you daytime running lights during the day and then kick on the tail lights and all the other interior lights when it gets dark, or if you're going through a tunnel. The next setting is the parking lights. The parking lights will give you a dim front light, tail lights on, all the buttons lit up, and then the old school way, the manual overdrive or override for the headlight system. This is all lights on, headlights, taillights, interior lights. It's great that they give you this option because if it's raining during the day, like it is now, you can have those taillights on, or for the snow during the day. Next to those, we have the fog light ring, off and on, which the fog lights will only be on when the headlight system decided it needed to be on from auto, or if you turn it on manually. On the right steering wheel stalk, we have the adjustments for the wipers. So if I click the wiper arm down once, it'll be intermittent, and then I can change how often the intermittency is, so how often those wiper blades go. Clicking it down again would do a low constant, and down a third time would do a high constant. And then that's back to the off position. If I pull the stalk towards me, it'll wash the front windshield. If I push it away from me or twist this all the way, it'll do the rear windshield. And then this little area here has three positions for the back windshield. We have off, intermittent, which is gonna just be once in a while for the back, so it doesn't really operate with this. And then I have the on, which is constant on for the back wiper. On the steering wheel, we have these two large pads. There are no buttons on the back of the steering wheel, so everything is visible and it all lights up, which is great. So we'll start with the left, then we'll go to the right, but a quick summary before we dive in. The left has arrows, select and back button for the MID screen in the middle, some music volume, voice commands, and phone. Then we got some cruise control stuff and some more music selection over here. Starting with the left, I have up, down, side to side, which will go through different menus on the MID. I'll give you a quick peek. We have those different icons that are going to light up here on the side. And then I can even go left to right. Some settings you'll have to push and hold the OK button. Some you can push it real quick. The MID will show you when it needs you to hold the OK button. Then I have the back button, which will go back on the pages of the MID. Then I can answer phone calls or hang them up or just prompt the phone menu to connect a new phone. I can change the volume to my phone calls or the music I'm listening to. And I have the voice command button. And the great thing about this is, from the factory, Toyota has a digital assistant. So when you push it once real quick and let go, you can talk to the Toyota system. But when you're wirelessly connected via Bluetooth to your Apple CarPlay or the Android Auto, when you push and hold this for about 2 seconds, the little Siri orb will pop up on the screen, or the Google Assistant will be prompted to help you out. On to the right side of the steering wheel, we have operations for the cruise control, lane departure alert, and a couple music things. So I'll start from bottom and work my way up. So we can go back and forth between songs. I have a mode button for AM, FM, Bluetooth, Sirius radio, and if you push and hold this button, it'll pause the music or mute it. It kind of does both at the same time. Then we have the top area with the cruise control system, which there are 2 different cruise controls. So when you push this button, this little symbol here with the car and the arrow will pop up on the MID. But if I were to push and hold this, the little arrow moves to the left and the car disappears. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, so on the MID, we're gonna look towards the top area over here. I'm gonna go ahead and push the button. And that means the radar cruise control is active and it's ready to be set. Now I'm gonna turn it off and I'm gonna push and hold the button. That's the old school constant speed cruise control, which is not going to sense anything. It's just going to keep on trucking. So you have the option, once you pick the cruise control system you want, you set it right over here, and then you can increase speed, decrease speed, and it will show you the digital speed you have it set to. I can cancel it like so, and I can change when I'm in the adaptive cruise control, the dynamic radar cruise control, technically speaking. I can change the following distance or sensitivity with this button here. Then I can turn on the lane departure alert, which will alert me when I'm going out of my lane, and I can have it set so it gives me a little bit of steering input, which does include lane tracing assist, which will keep you in the center of the lane when you're in the cruise control. So we just finished up with the steering wheel. Next up is going to be the Speedo Cluster and then the MID. On the Speedo Cluster, we have this very nice, easy reader setup. On the left, we have the tachometer that's going to show you your RPMs with your red line just over 6,100. We also have the engine temperature right below. The little park symbol, which is important because when the electronic parking brake applies, you can just look for this. You don't have to look down. That disengages and reapplies all on its own. And then to the right, we have the speedometer with the fuel level. And then you'll notice the little picture of the fuel guy over there has a left arrow because it's letting you know the fuel door, which is locking, is on the driver's side. People appreciate the nice, easy to read and legible cluster here. And right in the center, we have the MID, which stands for Multi-Information Display. And that's what's coming next, is the Multi-Information Display, where we're going to go through all these different menus and through the different pages to show you what we got going on. The MID is a screen that's going to be what I call the driver's helper screen. It gives you very important information or just stuff you're interested in seeing while you're driving. So you can see on the top right, we have the time, which we're going to have to adjust later in the video via the other screen. On the bottom left, we have the outside temp. In the center, we have the gear we're in. So when I put it in reverse, it'll show me or drive, or if I go over to shift mode, I can toggle through those gears and then back into park. Shows me right on the screen. So what it's doing is it's reducing the amount you have to really look down towards your shifter. Then I have trip A on the bottom there, but with the auto button on the dashboard that I showed you, I can go through my trips or clear and back to the service mileage, so how many miles are due for my next service, or the odometer. Now you see the icons on the very left that I showed you before. I'll use the arrows up and down to go through the different icons. So quick summary, the Leaf is the eco menu. Then we have the driving support menu, which is a little compass, the music menu, vehicle information, settings, and warnings, which this is orange right now because my seatbelt status is unbuckled. But we will start with the top and work our way through. Starting with the economy menu, you'll see when I get to that menu, there's these 3 little circles. That means I have multiple pages that I can go side to side. So starting with this, I have the average economy for the trip, which I wouldn't really be a judge of it right now because the car's never really been on a real drive. After a couple tanks, you're going to start getting much more accurate readings. It even shows you the distance to empty on the bottom. So this is great for visual people, and it's even going to give you a digital speedometer right there on the right that retains when I go to the next page, which is just a simple eco indicator with my distance to empty. So it's a little bit more abbreviated. And people's favorite screen, the digital speed screen, which gives me a much larger digital speed with the range right below. Going down one for the driving support, this is the only page. It's going to tell me what road I'm on the bottom there when I'm driving, and it gives me a nice compass with the digital speed on the right, my personal favorite page. Down one again, we have the music menu, so this is what the last person to be in this car had playing, I guess. But this is where you can see what song, what artist is playing. If I push OK for the source, I can even change the source from here. So I don't even have to touch or look at the main screen where the radio is. Say I want to leave the navigation on and I just want to change this source real quick. I can do that like so. And then see what it is right from the screen here. Down again, I have the vehicle information page. So starting on the left, I have the individual tire pressure here. Then if I move over again, I have the all-wheel drive control monitor, which will show me how much power each of the four wheels is getting. So you'll see it's going to primarily want to give you more power to the front wheels, but as you give it more throttle response or you go up a hill, it's going to give you more power in the back wheels. Then on the third page, this is a safety system status page. It's just showing me which safety systems are on and what they are. The pre-collision system uses the camera on the windshield with the sensor behind the emblem to detect if you're about to hit a car or a person, and will warn you, and if you don't brake in time, it will brake. The blind spot monitor will warn you if somebody's driving in your blind spot by lighting up an orange light on the side mirrors. Sorry for the rain noise, guys, but the show must go on. The rear cross traffic alert is part of the blind spot monitor system, where it'll actually beep with a 4-beep alert when it senses somebody walking or driving behind you while you're in reverse. So it's not to be mistaken for parking sonar, which beeps faster as you get closer to things. This alerts you of movement while you're backing up. Working our way down again, we have the settings menu, which has a bunch of different settings to our safety systems. So the first one, the lane departure alert, now we have to hold the OK button. I can put the lane center on and off, change the sensitivity, turn the sway warning off, which is the car sensing when I'm driving tired, and adjust the sensitivity to that sway warning. Hitting the back button, I can go to the pre-collision system settings, that's 2 cars crashing. Hold OK, I can change the sensitivity or even turn it off. Moving over to this, we have the settings for the dynamic radar cruise control. It does have curve speed reduction, where if you're taking a turn too fast in the cruise control, it'll slow it down a little bit automatically. Even if you had it set to a speed that was higher, I can adjust that right there. And for the blind spot monitor, I can change the brightness and sensitivity, which is great, or I can even turn it off right over here. For the rear cross traffic, it's just a simple on and off. And moving along, we have the road sign assistance, which will basically have the car reading road signs. For the notification method, I can have it alert me above the speed limit. I can do visual and audio, or no notification. And for others, it'll go back here to this. Over to the settings here. Gotta push and hold OK. We have the adjustment for the hatchback. So when I select this, I can change the hatchback opening height to customize it for my garage, which is really nice, or if I'm valeting the vehicle. And I can adjust the volume, so that's going to be the volume to the beep when the hatchback opens and closes. For the start-stop system, I can do standard or extended for the people that like that system. And the tire pressure monitoring system, I can set the pressure or change the wheels right from here, which is great, very convenient. Rear seat reminder, I can turn on and off. That's the one that reminds me, say I'm babysitting and I forget that I was babysitting and there's a kid back there or a dog. Then I can adjust and reset the scheduled maintenance items down below. Last one here, the Speedo settings. So I can change the language, the units. The little eco badge pops on and off when I'm driving more economically He comes on and then he goes away when I'm really stepping on it. If I don't like that little leaf coming on and off, I can turn that off. And digital speed, I can turn that off, say I don't really want it clustered. For gadget, I can do no display, average speed. So this is where I can start adjusting what those screens show. For fuel economy type, I can change the way it shows that information. Pop-up display, this is going to be the pop-up alerts for when I'm changing things while driving. I can turn some of those pop-ups off for notifications. I can even turn the MID off, keeping it very simple here for people that get a little overwhelmed. Then I just push the back button, go down again, and I can reset it to default settings. Pushing the back button, and then to the right, I'm back to the beginning. Then if I push down here, I'll go to the warnings menu, which is just lit up orange because my seatbelt's not on. But this will stay lit up orange if the vehicle needs to let you know anything else. So say maintenance is coming due soon, or one of my tires is running out of air all of a sudden, or if the sensor has a bunch of dirt on it, or just a whole bunch of different things. So whenever the vehicle's really trying to communicate something pertinent, it's going to be right in that menu. Then back to this, the favorite screen that wraps up the tutorial for the Highlander MID. Now let's move on to buttons by the shifter. Looks like we got a break from the rain, everybody, so thanks for sticking in. Buttons by the shifter, we have a couple control panels here. Starting up here on the top left, we have the different drive modes. So I can do this while driving or stationary. I push it up for sport mode, down to normal, down to eco. Sport mode will give me more power. Normal mode is just regular driving. Eco mode is for more gas economy, a little bit less power. You can just pick what you like. So there's no perfect time to do any one. They all work great in any situation. Something really cool about this is the color scheme kind of changes a little bit on the MID when I go through the different modes. Let me show you what that looks like. So you'll see in sport mode, we got a little red shadow there. Down to normal is going to be white, and then down is going to be blue. Of course, on your more fully loaded Highlanders, you get this cool little driving graphic where the Highlander drives and the wheels change, but it's super simple for the Highlander LE for the drive modes. Down below that, we have the multi-terrain select. Pretty simple. We have mud and sand, which will turn off some of the safety features here, like the traction control and the vehicle stability control, including the pre-collision system. And we light up a little bit of a sandy color here, and it automatically shows you the all-wheel drive monitor. So that's going to try to optimize for driving in a sandy area. I don't personally recommend you take your Highlander sand racing or sanding out in some deep sand. Let's say you're going on a small sandy trail by the beach. This would do just fine. Then when I hit the normal button, it's going to go all back to normal mode and reset everything. But check out what happens when I hit rock and dirt. When rock and dirt is selected, I have this cool rocky design where it keeps the pre-collision on and it keeps the safety stuff on, but it goes right to the all-wheel drive control. So it's going to change the all-wheel drive a little bit to enhance your traction. And if you're going through some, gravelly trails, rocky trails, this is where it's optimal. But again, it's not an off-roading vehicle, so I don't personally recommend doing real heavy-duty rock crawling like a Tacoma or a 4Runner or a Tundra could do in your Highlander. The second control panel over here on the right has a couple different things. We have the automatic parking brake, which I alluded to earlier, that you don't have to look down at, because when you take it out of park, it disengages, and when you put it back in park, it re-engages within 2 seconds. It gives you this little dip so that you can turn off the parking brake, but personally I recommend just letting it do its thing. It's great to park on the parking brake so that you're not parking on the transmission, but to each their own. Next to that is the brake holder. So this allows you to come to a stop at a red light. It'll say hold in gold, and then you give it a little bit of gas, and then you go. And then every time you come to a stop, it's going to say hold in gold. So you'll see this displayed in green, and then when you're actually holding, it's going to say this in gold next to it. So I'll give you a quick little view of what that looks like. You have to be in drive for this to work, and you have to be buckled up. I can turn it on while I'm in park, and you'll see it in green over here. And then when I put it into drive, once it's holding, you're going to see it in gold right there. So right now, I can take my foot off the brake, but I'm in drive. Pretty cool. And then you'll see once I give it a little bit of gas, it's going to release. Once I come to a stop completely, it re-holds and I can take my foot off the brake again. This only works when you're in drive, not reverse. That way there's no second guessing and you never accidentally fly into somebody behind you. Next to the brake holder, I have the turn off button to cancel the traction control and vehicle stability control. That will alert you in orange if you push and hold, and that's going to be on the tachometer. But these will turn off when it's most important to, when you hit one of your drive modes. The only other time I think you might want to turn track off is if it really snowed a lot and you're parked and you're getting out of a snowy parking spot, but that really depends on your experience level driving a car with all the safety stuff turned off. To each their own, because some people are really used to the way the car drives. Fun fact though, when you turn the car off and turn it back on, this will automatically come back on. Up here is snow mode. When you push this, it's just going to say snow mode in green on the top left of the MID, and there's not going to be any pretty little snowflakes like you see on some of the more fully loaded Highlanders, but this will take you off in second gear instead of first to reduce the wheel slip. So first gear has a little bit too much torque and your throttle control is really not that great. Snow mode's awesome because it's going to make it so that you slip less at a launch. Then we have the decline assist control. That's where the Highlander is going to do the braking for you on super steep hills. I've never used this, but if you live in San Francisco or any areas with extreme hills, shout out in the comments and let us know what you think about this feature and if you've ever used it. The Toyota Highlander shifter is made to fit perfectly to most hands with an overhand grip, and then by pushing the brake and this button here with 2 fingers, or one, whichever one, it goes right into drive or over into reverse. People really do appreciate the way the shifter feels. When you go down to drive, you can shift it into manual mode, and you can toggle up in the gears or down in the gears, and it's going to show you on the bottom of the MID. A case where you might want to use this mode is if you want to control your RPMs. So for instance, you're going up a steep hill, you want to go about 20-30 miles an hour with the RPMs between 2,000 and 3,000. Assuming you're not going to stop, you keep your momentum and you can tank your way up a very slippery hill. Once you put it back into park, within 2 seconds the parking brake reapplies, then you take your foot off the brake and the Highlander doesn't even roll a centimeter. And these are not buttons, but just to show you, the Highlander LE comes standard with a regular USB, 2 fast charging USBs, which are the new ones, the current ones now, that's more of the mainstream, and a classic 12-volt plug for the old school accessories. Above that area and the shelf, we have the button for the hazards, which doesn't light up, but you'll see the blinking on the dash over there, on the Speedo Cluster, and a quick turn off, and then we have the climate control. For the climate control on the 2023 Highlander LE, we have these 2 big knobs. Those are going to change the temperature for the driver and the passenger. So since we're synchronized, you'll notice the temperature for the whole entire vehicle changes together. But if the passenger changes theirs, it's going to be separate. To resynchronize, I can hit this lever up, and it's going to resynchronize them both together, where I can change it from the left one. And then getting a little bit closer, I can adjust the fan speed with this lever up and down, which will show me a little pop-up display here for the visual people. Then I have an air direction adjuster here. Say I was fogging up and I really quickly wanted to defog the windshield. We have a dedicated front defroster, which next to it has a rear defroster, which will also defrost the side mirrors. And since Toyota knows when you're using these, you probably want to defrost your wipers, it comes standard with defrosting wipers that will melt the ice off the wipers while they're on the glass. You can turn the system off like this, then you can resume it by giving it a little air. And if you want the system to modulate the air for you to maintain the temperature, I can select auto and it'll do all that for me. Moving on to the right, we have the controls for the AC and the recirculate for the really hot days. On the rainy days, I don't recommend using these, so I'm going to turn these off so I don't fog up like crazy. But when it's really hot, I recommend using these together, because then you're going to keep recirculating air that's already cold, instead of straining the system to keep cooling air from the outside, which is coming in hot. Over here, we have the cancel button for the rear climate, so I can turn off the rear climate or turn it on like this. It's a slight redundancy because this is a Toyota classic button that's on most Toyotas with a rear climate, but they're giving it to you anyway, just in case you want a quick cancel. But when you turn this on, it's going to show you what the rear climate is, and to access the controls, when I hit this, a little bar pops up and points to rear, which tells me I'm in the back climate. Now, if I don't push anything for a few seconds, it'll default to the front. But to change the settings to the rear climate, I push rear, and now I can change the airspeed, change the air direction, and change the temperature. Then once I hit this, I can go back to the front quickly, and you'll see this is low, but these are synced. But if I push this, and again, it resynchronizes to the driver. Now real quick, that air is blasting in the back. If I just want to quickly turn it off, I can hit this, or I could have just canceled it. And when I go back to rear climate, say I want just a slow residual air, I can do it like that. And that summarizes the climate control. Like I said, it's going to default to the front, boom, right in a second, which is really nice. We're going to go over to the buttons overhead for overhead features and finish up with the screen. For overhead features, we don't have a ton going on because the Highlander LE does not have an available or standard sunroof, moonroof, whatever you'd like to call it. It also doesn't have a standard auto-dimming rearview mirror. It's a simple flipper, what I call it, for dark and light mode. So there's no garage syncing, there's no auto-dim, definitely no digital mirror. We're at the base level, guys, but we do have a nice big-sized sunglasses or driving glasses holder. And if we push it up halfway and release, we have a nice conversation mirror so we can see who we're talking to. Now we can see a little better on this stormy day. We have the individual buttons here to control the side lights, which are going to be an incandescent yellow light, nice and cozy, instead of that cold, modern look of the LED lights. Let me know what lights you prefer. We have off for the interior lights, on with the doors, or all the lights on right now, which will light up all 3 rows. Then we have the guard lever here to the button for Safety Connect, which comes standard on the Highlander for 10 years or until the 4G network doesn't exist anymore. So that's a recovery system which does basically tell Toyota to send the EMS your geolocation. So if you roll down into a ditch, God forbid, they're going to know exactly where you are, which is going to decrease the amount of time they're searching for you. God forbid you got into an accident like that. Now, say somebody's having a medical emergency, you can push that button, let them know you have an emergency, and they know exactly where you are, and they send help on the way. Another really great part of the system is it comes with a stolen vehicle locator, just in case that did happen. And that's pretty much everything you have for buttons overhead. Of course, over here you have the controls for the lights on the middle row. And then real quick over here, we have a light with the mirror. And instead of a slide out plastic piece, you can just slide this forward and back like so. And that wraps up overhead. We're going to go to the meat and potatoes, the screen. There's going to be 2 software systems. You have the Toyota software system that looks like this. Simple. And then you're going to have the software system for the phone that you have connected via Bluetooth, which is going to look just like an Apple phone if you have an Apple, or an Android/Google device. If you have one of those, the styling is going to change. So let me get connected so you can see the different software systems and what they look like. And with a couple buttons pushed, we are connected. As you can see, like I said, the styling is completely different. Dead giveaway that I have an Apple phone connected over here. So just real quick on the CarPlay system, quick little view of the time, the service, some apps that I've recently used or are more likely to use, my battery percentage, and home screen if I want to create a home screen. And then this little symbol changes, which is apps, if I want to go back to my apps, where I can get to the apps. So you'll see you got the Waze here, Apple Maps, a few other things. When you select the text messages, Siri's going to read it to you, and then you can respond auditorially, and she'll basically send that as a voice text. But you might be wondering, I have no buttons to get to the Toyota software system. How do I do that? Right there, the Toyota app. Now we're back to the Toyota software system. Then there's the little CarPlay symbol. If it's Android Auto, it's going to be a little AA. It looks like a TP, similar to this, just tilted. So we got Apple, Toyota. See the style change? Super simple. Now there's not a ton else you can do here. Now if I go to settings, I can kind of change my wallpaper. I can change some Siri stuff. I can do dark mode, turn off the album art, but it's simple stuff here. But I want to go back to the Toyota software system so that I can show you some of the important adjustments, controls, and customizations that you would appreciate. Back in business. So starting with this, there's a cloud-based navigation that's available for you to explore. Below I have the music, which is more of a widget style. It looks like apps and icons. You'll take some time to get used to that, but I can't play any music right now, but there's different, let me turn that off. There's different, hold on a sec guys, there we go. Got the AM, you got your different genres here that you can play through. So what Toyota's trying to do is make it simple and easy to find what you're looking for instead of tuning and scrolling. But say you wanted to tune and scroll, what you would do is you would go to tune, and then you can search your station just like that, or you can basically scan it. When you hit phone, if you're connected to Bluetooth, it's going to show you your phone menu, so it's going to show your contacts, your history, recent calls, favorites, all that good stuff. But if you're connected with CarPlay or Android Auto, you're more likely just going to be zoomed over to your phone app, which is on your phone. For vehicle, I got some climate stuff going on over here. I can change the climate digitally if I want to. And I got some options for eco heat and cool, which will kind of temper things down and take the drag off the engine if you got the AC blasting. And I can even turn on the de-icer digitally as well, which is pretty cool. Slight redundancy, but for those that are super digital, here's where the good stuff is. So I'm going to go over the important stuff. This personal info when you have your Toyota account, good. Bluetooth devices, that's where it'll store the devices you had yourself connected to here. General, that's the first one. This is where I can change the time, which I'm going to change as a courtesy here. Then I got daylight savings time here. I can set automatically. Simple. I can do some keyboard settings, language and units. We know how that works. Notifications if the vehicle's trying to tell me anything. Wi-Fi if I want to set up the hotspot, which most Toyotas come with a trial. Display, another important screen here. I can turn the screen off and the music stays on. Tap it once, tap it twice, screen's back on. Another cool thing that I did a short video on, if you turn off automatic, you can go to dark mode full time. But for reducing reflection, I'm going to go back to light mode so you can see the screen easier. But I can change the brightness and the contrast to the screen as well. Say it needs to be a little more bright or a little less bright. For the camera here, when I'm in reverse, I can change that brightness, which sometimes it's super bright at night. Going back down. Sound and media, this is where I can do some sound tuning and I can change the equalizer. So say I want a little more treble and a little more bass. Super simple. And pretty much, I'm saving my favorite menu for last. This is where you can check for software updates. This is apps for the Remote Connect if you need to authorize. Info and security and dealer info, that's all dealer stuff, but here's my favorite page right over here. For vehicle customize, I can change the auto light sensitivity. How long those lights take to turn off when I shut the vehicle off, since the headlights will stay on as a courtesy to shine where you're walking. Daytime running lights I can turn off, but leave the vehicle in auto. And the auto off timer for the interior lights. Say you need a little bit more time when you shut the vehicle off. Say you need 30 seconds to see to get your stuff, it'll do that for you. Door control, my personal favorite. The Highlander unlocks when you put it in park, and it locks when you put it in drive or take it out of park. So if I put it in park but I want those doors to stay locked, I can do it like this. And then when I put it into park, those doors are going to stay locked for me. I can change some of the settings here for the key fob. And lastly down here, I can change it so that it does not blink when I lock and unlock it. And that loud beep I can tone down or make even louder, which is super cool. Then for climate, just have the auto AC mode, which is important in my opinion. That wraps it up. It's simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, guys. So I'm going to wait until the rain goes away for a moment, and then we're going to wrap up this video. And that wraps it up. Thank you for bearing with me with the sound of the rain. It's been a very stormy day today, but I wanted to get this video in before this Highlander disappears. These Toyotas do sell so fast. So if there was anything that I missed or that you needed to go over in a little bit more detail, you can find me in the comments. So definitely go down to the comments and you'll find me down there. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for checking me out. Please do consider subscribing. I promise it'll be worth it because I have more future content for Toyotas coming your way. And for my current subscribers, guys, thank you so much. You are all the VIPs. I will see everybody in the next video. Peace.